Hey Zalivers, this is SuperZombGBBQ, and well, I'm just gonna say it. The heavens have opened. Gods at WWE SuperCard have spoken, and they have announced some really big stuff. And when I say big, I'm talking colossal big, like boom, like yeah, 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 yeah. That kind of big, that kind of boomy big. And we're not gonna have an intro piece because we're just gonna cut into it. There is a lot to break down. Posted earlier on today, WWE SuperCard Cat Daddy, whatever you want to call them, came out of a what they call a semi-quarterly update, and there's going to be a lot of discussion and speculation in this, but most importantly, the information you need to know. They are talking stat numbers, special edition cards, and taking the bout timers down. Let's go through it together on screen. As you can see, welcome to another rousing edition of our semi-quarterly, haphazardly scheduled write-up intended to give you a stronger idea of where we are steering the game, what we're currently thinking, and how we're tackling some of the key items that you've been bringing up to us. It's been a minute since we wrote one of these things, so pardon our dust, but we do have some news on a few topics that we think will interest some of you out there on the internet. Stats and how big they are, the availability of special edition cards, and lastly, bout timers. They referenced the Otis Dozovich joke. Now, if you haven't seen this, they did multiple GIFs, multiple animations of this random Otis Dozovich WrestleMania 36 Pro stats going out of control. And everyone kind of guessed there was going to be something towards it, but nothing really came of it. Well, until now anyway. Now, whilst they have finally admitted that these jokes were very, very bad, I wanted to see how far it would go up to, personally. They've also said they've heard the concerns about how big the stats have grown over the years. Up until recently in Season 6, we haven't modified the way we do stats, the thinking being that stronger cards should be stronger and the stats on legacy content needed to be preserved, even if the numbers look funny and reach into the millions. Which would never happen. But as the game has matured, it's clearly getting harder to do the mental math as stats have literally grown into the millions. It's way harder to glance to see which card is stronger or has a chance to win. And in our minds, that's not what SuperCard is about. Yeah, like we haven't been telling you that for the last 3 seasons, but hey, change is good, right? Starting this winter, we're embarking on a new journey to address this by simply truncating the stats across our card tiers to make them more discernible. The goal is to reduce stats to 4 digits and a letter. Truncating doesn't mean a card loses its power, by the way, it's just going to be displayed in a different way. A way that, hopefully, is cleaner and easier to read. In essence, we're taking the game back to a place where you can glance at just a few numbers and get what you need out of them. The letter, of course, will also signify strength. Our card lab people at SuperCard HQ have been calling this the Great Stat Shortening, or TGSS. When we'll make this switch and where we'll land in terms of the letter and the numbering are still very much active discussions in SuperCard. So they're saying they'll get back to us with more details as and when they have it, but as you've undoubtedly noticed, we've already been tooling with stats for ROI and ELE to fit in this model more comfortably. Expect that with SummerSlam too. Yeah, we know what redacted means. It means SummerSlam. Now this is huge news, because this is something that people have been asking for. I'm not going to repeat myself too much, but for a long time. And I did come up with an idea that perhaps they could take numbers off or do a calculation. And I had this idea of having a Daniel Bryan for a Cataclysm tier. I've got the screenshot here showing his original stats and then his stats shortened to a lower number. What they're saying is they're going to be taking it down to 4 numbers and a letter. Now, I want to use an old game. Who remembers WWE Tap Mania? Now, this was a game that did have problems with stats. Well, you would have thought there'd be problems with stats because the stats got bigger and higher, and as you progressed through the levels, the stats got ridiculously big compared to when you first started off. How did they solve this? Well, what they did was they added a letter after this. So, for example, you would start off with 1.0B, or 1.0 C or D or E or F or whatever. You know what? I'm going to go out there and say a shout out to Broken SuperCard. I'm going to call this tier Broken. This is a Season 7 tier, for example. It's going to have 1000 as the tier stats A. So one has a power 1200A and then a speed 1300A. And then you have another card that has 1300A in power. So that's how it could be. We don't know for sure, of course. Letter will be related to the tier. Who knows at this point? They've said they will tell us as soon as possible. And they have stated that it's not guaranteed it's going to happen this winter, but it will happen as basically as close to Season 7 as they can. Going back to the post, it states our other topic we wanted to cover, special edition cards. These are those themed cards that we bring into the game on a monthly basis. You know, King of the Ring, summer cards, extreme cards, etc. We've heard the feedback that you want more ways to collect these types of cards outside of events and the ticket store. Starting this summer, we'll start rotating select special edition cards into the TBG store, the PvP store, and a few other potential places on a scheduled tier -1 basis. To explain this in more detail, they say, so when a new tier hits, select special edition elemental cards will begin rotating into places like PvP and TBG store, giving you the ability to exchange battle points and league points for them. With each new tier, select previous special edition cards will start hitting other storefronts. Some will be offered as singles, others inside packs. Importantly, if you've already collected special edition cards another way, you'll have experienced a window of power with them by the time they hit other storefronts. Getting these cards early will still carry the same advantages. Look out for additional social posts ahead confirming when new cards are set to hit these storefronts. What they're saying here is that any special cards that become available are going to become available first of all for people to pay or earn using the game. And this is something I think a lot of people are frustrated with. And I think Cat Daddy have got something here, but they still need to make it more accessible for free-to-play players and players who aren't willing to put down hundreds and thousands of pounds, dollars into the game. So there has to be some kind of medium between this. So it's not all about spending money. However, this is a little bit of a compromise by them saying that what they're doing is they're finally giving people a reason to spend Team Battleground points. If you really wanted, let's say, that Seth Rollins summer card, the second the next tier hits, that card could become available. I do just wish that they would have addressed difficulty some people have getting them free of charge, but this is a good start. Now the next one's going to please all players, and this is a really big one because it states we've got a few other things cooking on this end that will hit in the much nearer term. After our latest Clash of Champions, for example, we've made the decision to shorten bout timers, not just for Clash, but also the entire spread of solo and team events. For Clash specifically, we're still messing with the initial difficulty ramp and trying to find the right balance. Message received. In my personal opinion, the difficulty is one thing. The second thing, they need to change the peaks to reveals, because the fact that you need a piece of paper or you need, I don't know, a Photoshop as what I have to use when streaming is ridiculous. Using an outside app, in my opinion, or something outside the game to play a game takes you out of the game, and that means that it becomes just far too complicated. They need to fix it. But the fact that they're going to be changing solo and team event bout times is great. Everyone is going to love these. Whether this means that now there's going to be less ads is another matter entirely, but if you're getting more bouts per hour or per event, then hey, personally I think that's great. And you know what, if this is their way of saying, you know, we're going to throw a bone to some of the guys who can't spend money on bouts, then you know what, that's cool. If this is their way of saying, yeah, we kind of screwed you over a little bit, so here's something nice, then that's all good. I would want to know whether the ads would be affected as a result of this. So it's kind of taking away with one hand and giving back with the other. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And if you're excited about these changes, make sure you're hitting the like button as well. And of course, you want to see more of this kind of thing, hit that big red subscribe button. But going back to the post, they say they'll let us know about the changes to bout timers when they are finished and finalized. We've also got some big new stuff in the works that we want to share details about this fall. You know, the big changes that come to the game that happen around the winter time frame. Now, this big new stuff, I think, whilst they've addressed everything, it would be nice if they addressed the stat situation. When I mean the stat situation, we're talking about the difference in statistics between the base cards and the elemental, for example, special cards and the event cards. There's way too much of a gap between them, and it massively undervalues the cards at the beginning of a tier. It basically prioritizes, and it's one of the things that people really want to see changed, is these stat points and how they affect things going forward. Especially when it was a change that was just sprung upon people for no real reason, other than it seems to get more people to spend more money on special cards instead. The other question I would ask is whether this kind of post was brought on because of the unrest in the game right now. Alternatively, was it done because they've seen more players disappear from the game or retreat from playing the game, and they needed to send something out to say, look, we are doing something about it, just hold on for a little bit longer. Now, it does say at the bottom of this that there is a disclaimer that it might not happen as and when we say it will, because that's how video games work, and I can justify with that. From my limited knowledge, games are difficult, and sometimes the things that they want to do, they don't necessarily get the time to do at the right time. But at least they're saying, look, it is going to happen, but maybe bear with them and don't necessarily hit them up in every single social media post going, oh my god, when is it? I'm personally really excited for free players and people who don't have the money to put into this, because those are some of the most important sets of players, and I think Cat Daddy, SuperCard, whatever you want to call it, 2K, have really neglected those, especially over Elemental tier. I don't think I'm alone saying that Elemental tier has really done some damage to the game in the short run. But hopefully, this might reverse it going forward. In terms of the card stats, finally they are listening to us. Just make it simple. It would be really, really nice to see it just look good again, because it's looked terrible for so long. Maybe this is the time that the game now finally turns around. But we'll have to wait and see. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been amazing. Like I said, comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on this. And I will see you very soon. You want to see more? Subscribe. Catch you in the next one.